Well, today we're talking about this Enlan folder. This is the EL-01 with some khaki G10 scales. And you can see that on our blade there. If I can get it, there we go. Alright, I think this is available in some other colors. I got this many months ago from GearBest. This is a knife that I love the look of, but it's definitely disappointed me. From the second I opened it, I was disappointed, and I repeatedly get disappointed as I revisit it. I recently did revisit it for a couple days so that I can do this review for you guys, get refamiliarized with this knife. Because oftentimes when I get knives that are new, I'll test them for a little bit, and then I kind of put them aside and I work on other stuff that I've been working on. And before I do a review, I have to start EDCing them again. And if I don't EDC them, I have to at least do some cutting and stuff like that so I can, again, just kind of remember things I like, things I don't like, because I'm dealing with so many different knives. Sometimes it gets confusing. But yeah, this one definitely disappoints, but I have to make this statement. Price definitely reflects the level of disappointment / anger that you have with problems with knives. So what I mean is, if this was a $300 knife, I would be furious, livid even. That's the best way to describe it. I would be completely 100% livid. At $200, I'd be extremely pissed off. At $100, I would be very angry. At $50, I'd be disappointed. $20, I'd be annoyed. The price tag on this knife is $13.34, which, yes, is very random. I don't know how they come up with that price, but so be it. So let's just call it a $14 knife. Let's estimate. Let's jump up way past the proper estimation. So let's just say a less than $14 knife. For that price tag, the problems I have with this knife is mild irritation. So, just wanted to kind of explain that. The price definitely reflects what you should expect out of the knife. I really didn't expect much. The reason I picked this knife is because I really like the look of it. The design is pretty slick. The ergonomics are actually pretty fantastic. Nice deep finger choil. The flipper obviously doubles as a guard. Really comfortable. The rest of the fingers just kind of rest on the scales really nicely. There is some jimping. There's actually a lot of jimping on this, but the purposeful jimping that I use is right here. Thumb lands right on it, even though it's on the liners and not on the scales. It's wide enough of a gap so that a lot of the skin on my thumb can grip onto that. Okay, so it's pretty purposeful. Not extremely grippy or anything, but it does serve a purpose. But yeah, the ergos are pretty nice. And then the reverse grip, same deal. You can see tons of jimping. Again, towards the back here, so the thumb does touch that, all right, when you're holding it, which is very nice. However, when I first got this thing was extremely stiff, okay? It is a flipper design. There's no thumb studs or holes or cutouts or anything like that, so, you can't really get the blade out very easily, and especially because there's a swedge cut into here, so it's even less of a grip. So you have to use a flipper. When I first got this, I did a lot of this. Duh. Thud, duh, nothing. Thud, that's not the appropriate sound effect. What's going thud? What am I thinking of? All right, I'll just let the knife do the sound effects itself. Yeah, this happened a lot like this for probably the first week, at least, to break it in, okay? Then I realized, all right, fine, I can't really flip this out easily, so I gotta get some wrist action. Then it flipped out, but even then I oiled the hell out of this the channel in here, try to get oil down in the pivot area. So you might be asking, Jeff, why don't you just adjust that pivot? Wish I could, but I can't because of this proprietary cat treat shaped pivot head or pivot screw head. What is with that? Yeah, I don't have that tool to maneuver that. And then I thought to myself, well, I can rig something and I can definitely move that with a pair of pliers, throw on some tape on the end of it or whatever. I can do something to move that. But then I realized it would probably get marred up. So the first thing I did was I took my Torx bit and I tried to adjust this screw. This is the blade stop. The screw that goes into the little piping piece or collar, whatever you want to call that, for the blade stop, okay? This is so you don't get any blade play there. So when I tried doing that, I immediately stripped the head, okay? So that is not adjustable at all. And then I soon realized that this is not a hardened steel, and that if I did try to rig something, it would not only probably not work much, but it would really mar that up and it would just look like total garbage. So I decided just to wait for the break-in period, which for this was a couple months. That's how long. I've had this a few months now because I want to get to the point where I can actually carry it and open it with a decent, amount of force. I don't want to have to use like my whole arm, like whip this thing to open it. So I want to be able to open it with just a little bit of wrist, which I can do at this point now. But yeah, very disappointing in that I cannot adjust this pivot screw. So maybe you get one that's loose. I guess if you had to choose, it's better to be tight and break in than to have a little blade play that you can't adjust. So obviously a big downside, but do not forget that $13.34 price tag, because that plays a role into, again, how angry or disappointed you should be about that. So yeah, as far as like taking the knife apart and stuff, I wouldn't even bother. It does have a open frame here, so as far as cleaning, you should be able to get in there with some Q-tips and stuff. I wouldn't mess with this because the hardware is not hardened and it will just strip out on you. And if it's loose, it'll really annoy you. It does have a liner lock. The lockup is nice. Like I said, mine was super stiff, so yeah, there's no blade play at all. Eventually, I'm sure it'll create some blade play, and at that point, I'm just kind of screwed. It's a dud. It's a throwaway because I'm not going to even bother sending it back. Interesting enough is that these liners are pretty thick. If you can, I don't know if you could tell there in comparison to my hand, I don't have an exact measurement on it, but they are very thick liners, so I'm very happy to see that they are skeletonized, which you can clearly see. And there are some lightning holes drilled in. All right, as far as weight, 5.4 ounces on this. If those holes weren't there, it would easily push in 6.5, 7 ounces. It's a pretty good weight as it is right now. But the reason I mention it is because we have some thin scales here, G10 scales, but overall it's kind of a thicker handle. So it does kind of fill out the hand very nicely. And that goes back to ergonomics. So it looks great, it feels great. The performance, the HCR13 MOV is, a lot of people at this point have a good familiarization with that through a lot of different knives. Bottom of the barrel for usable steels, in my opinion. I can deal with it. I definitely prefer other steels, but again, for $13.34, it makes sense. It's not a surprise. As far as the length, 4.7 inches closed here, and our blade is 3.8 inches. We have a flat ground blade, which is nice. All right. I will probably do a video again in the future talking about different blade grinds, maybe the pros and cons, my personal preference, because it really comes down to preference, but there is some science, that goes into why you might, or why one blade grind might be better than other for certain purposes, certain cutting tasks. But I do like the looks of certain grinds as well. For example, I'll tell you real quick, I really like the look of a hollow ground blade, but with a hollow grind, you kind of have a curvature because they're sharpened on a big wheel instead of a flat surface. So flat grinder, obviously, let's say this is your belt, it's grounds on a flat surface. Whereas if you have a grinding wheel and you go to grind it, it grinds in a curvature. So what happens is, and I'll discuss more of this in the future, but with that curvature, you get more resistance. So you get a nice fine edge, but when you're cutting deep into something, you get the wedge effect, and it wants to bind up a little bit more. So a lot of people do prefer flat grinds as opposed to hollow ground grinds, but hollow ground grinds look really nice. So it's just one of those things, form over function, or vice versa, depending on what you choose. But again, this does have a little swedge on the back there. Obviously it's not sharpened or anything, it's not deep enough to be sharpened, but it gives a little something to the looks there, which is nice. This hooks up here, not quite enough to be waved open, because I did try quite a bit. You can kind of get it with a very low success rate. I was able to kind of wave this open. I'm not even going to put a number on it. It fails most of the time. It's not a wave feature or anything like that. You just kind of can manipulate it a little bit to work as such. As far as the actual flipper itself, totally rounded, no jimping or anything. No problems with gripping it. It's not like my finger's slipping off or anything. It's just, again, just so stiff that it took a lot to break that in. Something else that I want to talk about is that when I go to disengage this lock, all right, and close the knife, you can see that obviously the flipper that turns into our guard is hitting my thumb here. Okay, so what you have to do is unlock it, bring it off kilter a little bit there, move your thumb, and then push down. But what I'm having a problem with, and this is just something that's I'm constantly forgetting and then having to rediscover each time I close my knife, is that when I do this right here, it kind of stumbles, and that's because of the ball bearing that's on our Linerlock there. All right, so totally open, you unlock it, and then it just wants to stop here. There's a lot of resistance. Okay, it's not smooth at all. In fact, you could probably hear it if I shut up. So that kind of bothers me because I go to close it, move my thumb, and then now I have to use more finger strength, and it always kind of jerks down. It's not really a transition in closing this knife. I have to overcome that resistance that's right there, and it's just annoying to me. So anyway, just worth mentioning. Pocket clip's totally fine. However, the position is really low. As you can see, it's tip up, right side carry, not swappable to the other side, and that much of your knife is sticking out of your pocket. It's a little much. I'm not like, you know, I don't demand super low profile clips, you know, or deep carry clips. Some people, like, that's all they buy. They won't even consider a knife if it doesn't have a deep concealed carry clip. And you know, I definitely have more of a variety, a range of knives I like. It doesn't have to be completely concealed, but this is a lot of knife sticking up. Okay, it's good in the sense that you have a good grip on it, but it was a little much for me. I like to see the pocket clip be mounted up higher. Obviously with the lanyard hole there, I mean, you know, they could have just mounted it off to the side a little bit, maybe on an angle slightly, but I don't know. They just kind of slapped it on there, a little sloppy. Lanyard hole, of course, your 550 if you want to use it. Yeah, I mean, that pretty much sums it up. Not a whole lot else to say. I really do like the way it looks. I love the way it feels. The 8CR13 MOV is kind of like, eh. As far as performance, I would give it maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10. You know, 10 being the best steel ever, and 1 being a plastic utensil, I guess. Like I said in the beginning of the video, it's a decent beater. It has its issues, but for the price tag, it's kind of expected. The other thing too is inconsistency. I'm sure there's people out there that are going to comment, man, what are you talking about? I have an EL-01 and I love it and I don't have any problems with it and this and that. But yeah, I mean, they are inconsistent. I can get 5 of these things and 1 will be stiff, 1 will be perfect, 1 will have the screw falling out, 1 won't lock upright. I mean, you know, it's just, that's what you get. You get inconsistency, you get low, you know, quality control in these factories. Not always the case, but oftentimes it is. So there you go. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have an awesome day, and I'll see you soon. You hear Gus? Yes, that's right. He was under the table, and he just got up and left because he heard my little outro deal. He's like, all right, we're done. We're gonna go outside and play. Anyway, there you go. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.